Cheers everyone, Cloudfather here. Happy Friday. I'm going to do some general tinkering. As promised from yesterday, we did the front side of a mirror with 4 different patterns, a mix of graphics and fills and so on. Now we're going to keep on trucking in graphic, but we're going to do it the way we normally do a mirror, which is through the back side of the mirror. Now this particular mirror, in order to get through the paint of the mirror layer, we actually have to go from 0 to 40% in 35 watt mode. We're going to run at 2800. This has a little bit of grayscale, but it's mostly a black and white image. So that's going to run for about 34 minutes. When we're done, I've got several Native American art pieces we're going to put on a 8x10 picture frame glass that has been covered with a mill of tempera with alcohol. So we'll go ahead and do that. And then we're going to come back and look and see what we can do with alcohol ink on the back side of that. So those are the things we're going to play with here for the next day or so. For those who have been following the 63 bug restore that my brother and I are working on, we did get it running today. Unfortunately, the brand new fuel pump was bad, and so is the brand new distributor. So a couple trips down to the local auto parts store. The beastie comes to life. So we'll be looking forward to finishing all the painting and the body work. The interior is all done. We've replaced all the floor pans. We've gone through and sanded down and redone all the internal finish. Did a little bit of laser engraving. We haven't put that stuff on yet. Those are pieces of plexiglass with palm trees that'll go on the door pads. So that's kind of what we're up to for the next few days. Stay tuned. Hope you enjoy. Cloudfather, we're going to go disappear for a while where this runs, but we'll be back. Okay, so we put a little alcohol ink in the back. And if we shine it to the front, we get some kind of interesting effects. So I'm basically getting multiple dimensions of layering. That's really kind of interesting because I can see the text that we did with the titanium dioxide on the front, which I should have gone and washed. But I've also got a nice clear imprint in the back, although I should have reversed the image, of course. But that was really kind of interesting. Gonna have to play some more with that. I could have used a couple different colors, but the ink is really fun the way it flows, and it gives a really kind of neat patterning. And then of course we've got trees and so on top of that. So one could do some really interesting backgrounds. And you notice we have depth from front and back by engraving both sides of the mirror. So that was kind of fun. I'm going to have to do some more playing with that. Okay, for the next experiment, we're going to import some other files. We'll grab one more. We're going to put 4 on a pane of glass. And again, this is the thin stuff. This is the $1.25 stuff from the dollar store. So we're going to go to inches here. And let's see, we'll go 5 by 4. So 4 width, 5 high. Four width, 5 high. Four width, 5 high. Four width and 5 high. You know, the reason why we're doing it this way is I just want to get them all together. And we'll go back to millimeters because that's what our bed is calibrated in. So 51, that gets us on our ruler. So now we have those two aligned, and these two will just move over. Okay, so we're close enough. When we frame that, it should give us 8 by 10 plus a little. There'll be a tiny little slop over, but it's close enough to do the experiment. So we're going to take each of these and give them a layer. So this one we'll do with blue. I guess I had green instead. There's blue. There's red and black. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take our images and set them all up at 2840. Which for this kind of stuff in grayscale mode, for this glass has a rather thick coating on it on the back. I'm going to go 40 on the power. And we're going to go 2.5 on minimum power. Overscan is 2.5%, 254 DPI, grayscale, and the rest are defaulted. Let's see, well, I'm going to try the negative imager, but I'm going to run the preview on this to see what it thinks. So these images are really nice quality because they have a lot of depth to them. So the one up here in the top corner we're going to have to play some games with because it's a little dark. So now we'll do the red layer. And we'll go to 2800, 40 max. .5 minimum on grayscale. We'll leave the rest defaulted. Let's see. We'll look at the negative image first. So we're looking at the red one here. This is the one that didn't look good before. And this is what you might do if you're going to do some production work. You're going to do 4 things at a time. That's the nice thing about an X70. You have plenty of room. May take forever, but you don't have to change things. Okay, we got a much better result changing that to a negative image. So some of the playing around you need to do is go back and forth on images, do previews and so on. Look at the different depths and different layers of grayscale. And really you're looking just to get a really clear graphic. So that's what they're actually going to look like. Now I'm going to go down to this one, which is our blue layer. And light burn. This beta gets a little slow sometimes. I'm going to try this one without a negative image. Now this one has a light kind of background to it, and it's not very dark in the main image. And so ones like this are a lot tougher to work with, but we'll see what it looks like. And again, this is black tempera cut with 91% alcohol. Then I put it through a strainer to get all the gunk out of it, and then we spray it with the high volume, low pressure strainer, spray gun rather. So now I'll go to a little friend over here, get the black layer. We'll tweak this up a little bit. Set our power 28. And again, different lasers will be different, particularly in the percentages. This is a 70-watt laser running in 35-watt mode, which is using the narrow beam capability of the system to give you a little better graphics. So we're going to leave the rest of this together. I'm going to do a negative image of the keep on trucking. And now we'll go through and see what this looks like. Okay, good, we're good. Yeah, this is, I think, going to be the right way to go. So some images are inverted, some images are not. We have a mix. And what I've been looking for is the best contrast and the best highly definitive or highly defined layers of grayscale. Yeah, that's much better because now you can see it. Before you couldn't see it. So this should actually give us a pretty nice image. Let me turn the invert here. We can see actually what it's going to look like. In theory, light burn is, they mean well, but they're not real close on what the images actually look like. You just have to make a few of them with the understanding you're going to go through some materials. And with this particular experiment, I'm starting with stuff that I've done before. So I know kind of how the images are. And I think this is going to look pretty good. It'll be interesting when we get right here where we have one image in invert and one in non-invert, and see what happens when one goes over the other layer. So there's lots of interesting things there. So there we have it. We have our 4 different layers. I framed it. Let's see if the move is working here. There were some problems with the move menu. Get position isn't working properly. It should show a Z of 14, which is not doing, which means it's 15 millimeters from the surface. I'm going to go ahead and start that. This will probably take a while. We'll see here in a second. Okay, so it's going to be 3 hours and 7 minutes, which means it'll be closer to 4 hours. So it's 7:23 now. We'll come back and check on this about 10:30 or so and see what kind of stuff we get from that. Again, this is very thin glass. This is probably, what was it when I measured it? It's 1.55 millimeters thick. The mirror stock, which is this stuff, is 2.75 millimeters thick. And again, this was really interesting. We basically engraved both sides, and of course we can see the patterns from both sides. It's really kind of fun. I will get more organized and get some patterns that are complementary to each other rather than just random stuff sometime later in the week. But I wanted to test to see if we could actually engrave without going through the back of the mirror. And as it turns out, we can. We can do one layer on this surface, and we can do one layer on the back surface. So that's kind of what makes that a little more interesting than normal. So we'll check back in a few hours and see what we come up with. Well, here's our result. We got a pretty clean cut. There's lots of good line definitions. We're getting a lot of good grayscale. Bear in mind, this hasn't been washed yet, so we've got to do that first. But one problem we have is this very, very, very thin glass has a whole bunch of fractures in it. So the problem we had with this particular batch is we should have probably set the power to about 30 maybe, because the glass is so fragile. Again, this is really thin stuff. This stuff is about 1.25 mils. The mirrors that I've been doing are 2.8 thick. But we are getting good density and we are getting good grayscale. So we'll go wash these and see what they actually turn out to look like. Well, here's our result. As you can see, we've got fairly good detail, but this is the problem with using honeycomb. I just cleaned that honeycomb a week ago. So what I'm going to do is do this one over again. We're going to put a piece of steel plate down that's 12 gauge, and we're going to put a paper towel on top of that is moistened. And that'll help keep the temperature down. And of course, it eliminates the problems with that. We need to use less power on this, no question. We are getting a nice engrave. I mean, it has a good frost, but we need to increase the speed. You know, this 8x10 pane took basically 4 hours. And so we got a fairly good result, but a little more speed will help. We got fairly good grayscale. I may go tweak each of the images to take out some background and maybe highlight some of the pieces. And again, the honeycomb's a problem, but if you go on the front side, particularly with the one by my fingers here, that one actually turned out pretty good. And again, it's a question of speed. And of course, we're using 0 to 40 in grayscale. So we'll try that again in a while and then see what happens. This is $1.25 glass. This is where it comes from. This is from the dollar store. These are $1.25 a piece. And the cool thing is you actually get something to put it in when you're done making it. So not a bad deal, but you got to be real careful with the glass because it's very, very, very thin. So we'll get all that stuff ready to go. I'm going to have to go in and do some more high volume, low pressure black tempera. I thought about putting some on the back of this, but the problem is I think the only way to make sure we don't get honeycomb is to go the paper towel and steel plate way. The other thing I'm hopeful is that the steel plate and wet towel combination will help the glass not fracture, because that's a big problem with the thin glass. Now, the heavier glass, which we did the day before, where we're doing the experiment of dual images, this is much thicker glass. This is stuff available from Lowe's. Note the fact I'm not good at cutting glass. I'm still making Fred Flintstone glass instead of square pieces. This will work pretty well, and you can definitely see where you have two layers, especially right down in here. You got the Keep On Truckin' in the back, and then you've got the trees with two different types of frost, and one in the foreground and one in the background. And then, of course, you have the alcohol ink in the background. So we're mixing 3-4 different techniques on that, and we're starting to get some interesting stuff. So we'll be back as soon as we've got some more materials to work with. Okay, we've loaded in another piece of the $1.25 stuff. This stuff's all very badly warped, but we'll have a go at it. We'll try some Native American art, see if we can get some grayscale. When we're done with that, we're going to go prep some more glass. All right, we've got our image selected, we've got it framed. We're going to go to our macro. Actually, we need to go to move first. You got to put this autofocus macro on the move page. Okay, our autofocus is good. Let's go check our cuts and layers. On this image, I think we should go a little faster. Again, we're going from glass to wood. I'm thinking we want to do about 4,500. Two 2.5 to 40 should be about right. 254 DPI should be good. I'm not going to do any dot correction. So we're going to do a first pass to see what the grayscale does. We may do a second pass, but we'll do it in sketch mode. What sketch mode will do is It'll emphasize the outline. And the other thing I need to check is which polarity are we? So let's go run a preview. Let's see what it looks like inverted. So we probably want to do this guy in inverted mode because we have a lot of black on the back. It's tough to get an even cut, and there's a lot of gray in the middle, so let's go reset that to inverted. That's odd. It was, okay, we'll turn the inversion off. Sorry, got it backwards. Let's do another preview. Yes, that's the way we want to do it, non-inverted. So we have a white background that's a lot less burning, a lot less scarring. And it'll be interesting to see how the grayscale comes out. We've got a pretty good range. We're running in 35 watt mode. We're shading according to power. So we'll go ahead and fire this one off. When we're done, we're going to go do some more paint prep. So we'll be back in a while. Okay, we went ahead and used our Rust-Oleum marker white. We put in all of our 8 by 10 pieces of glass. This is, again, the thin stuff for $1.25. We're going to put Native American art on this, but we're going to let this dry overnight. We also finished up about 20 pieces of the what we think is basswood. Again, $1.25 a sheet. So we'll let that stuff dry for at least 4 or 5 hours. We've still got 2 more hours to run on the one that's in the machine now. So we'll check and see how dry these are in about 2 hours. Cloudfather here. Well, we're getting almost done. We probably need about 3 coats on this. This was basically cutting pockets with the laser again, so we were doing milling. And then we were doing overlay painting. We put 4 coats of clear on before we did it. And then we put 2 coats on, and we'll probably add 2 more to this. We've also prepared 20 more boards with the same basic prep because I'm going to do a series of these. Over here, those are the 8 by 10 inch picture frames. So instead of using black, I'm going to try and see if I can do it with marker paint from Rust-Oleum. This will give me a black on glass, so we'll see how that works. I have used this on thicker stuff, but nothing this thin. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. So that's what we got running back in the laser. And so far, it looks like it's running pretty good. It's going to take it about 2 hours to do it. This is what the image is right there. And here it is in black and white. This image was set up for 10-200, 40% power, 35 watt mode, 2.5 to 40. We're at 300 DPI. And we're at 0.20 for dot adjust. So we'll see how that comes out in about an hour and a half. We're back in the lab. Someone asked me about what I'm doing here. You've seen the PC and the extended display back in the lab, actually out in the garage. Back in the lab here, I use a product called Tight VNC, which allows me to have both screens on one big screen, which is on my file server. So that little product is this icon right down here. And it's really pretty slick because I can completely remotely control my laptop that's in the garage directly connected to my laser from anywhere. I can do it on my cell phone, my tablet, my PC. I can be anywhere in the world and do that. It's a free product and it's something you might want to check out. You do an install on your PC, on your laptop, and then you do an install on your tablet, PC, or whatever. Then you simply set a password between the two of them, and then you can dial up. So it's really a pretty slick deal, something you might want to try. Cloudfather here. Okay, well, we've finished our two little projects for today. So we're using the Rust-Oleum 2X glass clear on this one. This one has not been cleaned yet. We just got it out of the hopper. This is that very thin glass. And we're using inverted marking spray from Rust-Oleum. This has a lot of titanium dioxide in it, and it sprays a pretty even layer. Now I need to go wash this off, and once I wash it off, then we'll see how much actually transferred and see if the image is correct. It's tough to tell. It'll take about 30 minutes once I put it in the ultrasonic cleaner. But this is all we'll do for tonight. We'll check the results in the morning. Cloudfather out. Okay, one last shot. So here's how it turned out. Not too bad. I still have some cleanup to do. This stuff doesn't come off quite as quickly, but once we hit this with some acetone tomorrow morning, this ought to be good. So that was a fairly successful one. I would think we probably need to lose a little bit more power, get a little more darkness, but a good start. It's getting closer. So tomorrow we'll do another one. I've got 3 more pieces, and we'll go ahead and try them at 0 to 50, 0 to 60, and 0 to 70. Now there is one really big difference between using the white chalk paint and using the black tempera. The difference is the black tempera paint gets a much hotter burn than the white does. The white paint has its very high level of titanium dioxide, so we get a pretty good image of that, but it doesn't get nearly as hot. So we're getting close to the point where we'll start getting the blacks really dark, and we'll start seeing all the rest of the gray. This particular one we're going to keep, and we're going to use some alcohol ink on tomorrow, do a little playing with that, and then we'll, like I say, do 2 or 3 more of these at a little heavier power. I might do one with the DPI of 600. This one's at 300. So that's kind of the plan for the next day or two. Hope you enjoyed this. Cloudfather out.